Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Daily Debate. My name is Ahmed Nader and tonight we're going to focus on the Egyptian-African relations as we have seen over the past week during the activities of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. President al-Sisi had received the head or the chairman of the Sovereign Transitional Council in Sudan, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, and the President of Eritrea as well, Isaias Afwerki. We will be focusing on those couple of meetings between the African leaders and how can Egypt and the African continent in general be improving the economy and the political bilateral ties between one another. But we will be starting first of all with the main headlines and the main top stories for today on Sunday, and we will be starting with the activities of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, who had expressed the Egyptian keenness on achieving a leaping cultivated lands area through the vertical expansion using scientific research and technology to improve the productivity. He was speaking during a meeting with the visiting Director General of the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, the FAO, in Cairo on Sunday. The presidential spokesman said that the meeting also witnessed reassurances of the long-range cooperation between the two sides in the multi-development projects in the fields of agriculture and food. For his part, the FAO Director General said that he highly values the development progress in Egypt, adding that the organization is committed to deepening cooperation with Egypt. Both sides also discussed the global food crisis and the repercussions from the Russia-Ukraine crisis on Egypt. Developments in the Gaza Strip also topped the agenda of the talks, and the catastrophic humanitarian crisis that has pushed the Strip into famine, as well as the Egyptian efforts to get aid into Gaza by land and air. As for the other top story, comes from the statements made by Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry, who warned against the grave repercussions of the Israeli occupation forces operation in Rafah City and the Palestinian people. This came during Shoukry's participation in Riyadh for the consultative meeting bringing together Egypt and the Gulf Cooperation Council. Shoukry called on the necessity to put an end to the Israeli aggression and ensure the entry of the humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip. The foreign minister also renewed the importance of the political consultations between Egypt and the Gulf Cooperation Council's countries that enhance the bilateral partnership and cooperation programs in various fields. Foreign Ministry spokesman Ambassador Ahmed Abu Zaid said that the meeting also discussed the threats to the navigation security in the Red Sea, as well as the situation in Libya, Sudan, Syria and Somalia. Meanwhile, Shoukry briefed his counterparts on the latest developments in the Renaissance Dam issue. For his part, the Secretary General of the GCC, Jassim al-Badawi, stressed the historic and the distinguished Egyptian-Gulf relations, pointing that both sides are keen on promoting bilateral relations and confronting the challenges facing the Arab region. We will be heading to the first report of the Daily Debate for tonight, which focuses on the presidential activities of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi over the past week. In the upcoming report, stay tuned.
President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi meets Minister of Defense, Chief of Staff of Armed Forces, and a number of leaders from the armed forces. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi attends the Differently Abled celebration for people of determination and special needs. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi gives a speech at the Differently Abled celebration. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi receives President of the Transitional Sovereign Council of Sudan, Lieutenant General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, at Cairo International Airport. An official reception ceremony is then held at Al Ittihadiyya Palace. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi receives a phone call from U.S. President Joe Biden. The call addresses the joint efforts made by Egypt, Qatar, and the United States to calm the situation in the Gaza Strip, reach a ceasefire, exchange captives, and allow access to humanitarian aid.
And regarding the main topic of the daily debate for tonight, we'll be heading to the first report of the episode, focusing on this main topic as President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi held discussions and conducted a meeting with the head and the chairman of the Sudanese Transitional Sovereign Council, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan. We will be having more details regarding such a meeting in the upcoming report. Stay tuned.
President Fattah el-Sisi received Chairman of Sudanese Transitional Sovereign Council Abdel Fattah al-Burhan last week at the Ittihadiyya Presidential Palace in Cairo to discuss enhancing bilateral relations and address regional and international issues of mutual concern. The visit reflects Sudan's keenness to develop its bilateral cooperation with Egypt. The visit comes while the war in Sudan between the Sudanese armed forces headed by Burhan and the paramilitary rapid support forces has been ravaging Sudan for nearly a year now. Egypt has engaged in diplomatic efforts to bring the curtain down on the war, which has killed thousands and displaced around 8 million people. Egypt has called for a permanent ceasefire and a political solution to the conflict. Cairo hosted the Sudan's neighboring countries summit on July 2023 to encourage an end to the fighting. The summit brought together leaders of Egypt, the Central African Republic, South Sudan, Eritrea, Chad, Ethiopia, and Libya, along with the African Union Commission and the Arab League. Of the almost 8 million people displaced in Sudan, over 1.1 million people, including Sudanese refugees and refugees from other nationalities hosted by Sudan, fled to Egypt and other neighboring states. Egypt alone has received 458,827 people, including 450,000 Sudanese since the start of the war and until the end of January. Rounds of talks between Saudi Arabia and the United States with the warring sides in Jeddah in 2023 managed to broker short-term truce deals allowing aid delivery to the population, but have not yielded a permanent cessation to the fighting. Egypt's efforts to restore peace in Sudan was recommended as Egypt, one of the countries most affected by the ongoing circumstances in Sudan, has a true interest in achieving security and stability in Sudan. Egypt has hosted Sudan's neighboring countries summit and the mechanisms it presented to address the crisis. El-Sisi met with al-Burhan in November 2023 on the sidelines of the joint Arab-Islamic Extraordinary Summit in Riyadh, where el-Sisi reiterated Egypt's support to Sudan at all levels. President el-Sisi also welcomed al-Burhan in northern Egypt, Alamein city, in August 2023. They discussed ongoing efforts to settle the crisis, restore safety and security, and preserve Sudan's sovereignty and unity.
Welcome back. You're still watching the day.